Hello paper crafters, I'm Sunny Sky and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today's card features this fun set free cake. And we're going to do a watercolor wash on our background and just do some torn layers. A lot of times I just do straight cut layers, but today we're going to use some torn layers. So here are the sizes you need for today's card. These sizes here are just kind of general sizes because we're going to rip the top and the bottom of each sheet. You're just making them slightly wider, and so I've given you the width dimensions there, and the height dimensions are sort of up to you. And we're opening this card tall ways, oops, like this, just for a change of pace. I just love this saying, yay, free cake. I mean, happy birthday. Okay, so we're going to start off this card with the watercolor paper. It is going to take a little while to do a watercolor wash and let it dry. So I'm just pressing in the tops of the ink pads. This is Grapefruit Grove. And then we have Pool Party, and that's actually the lightest color, so that's the color we'll start with, is the Pool Party. And if you want, you can also take some of your re-inker and just put a drop or two in your stamp pad lid and get more color that way. This Grapefruit Grove and then also this Merlot are really juicy because they're brand new. So they've got plenty of ink in the lids on their own. And I'm going to start out by just getting this kind of soupy and wet and going ahead and getting a little bit of watery base to my card. I'm not covering maybe every inch, but just covering quite a bit of it. And I'm going to start with the lightest color, and that is the Pool Party. I am squeezing a little bit of water in there just to mellow it out a little bit. And add that to the top of the card. Then I'll just wipe off on scrap paper. Come in with some Grapefruit Grove. And I can see I didn't clean it off good enough there. You can see a little bit of that blue is showing up on my Grapefruit Grove pad. All right. Grapefruit Grove, and then go to our darkest color, Merlot. And this one is quite intense, so I'm going to add a little bit more water to that just to soften it up just a little tad. It'll take just a minute to let this dry. I'm going to heat it up with the heat tool, and I'll be right back. All right, this has had a chance to dry. I hit it with the heat tool because we're going to stamp on top of it, and of course we don't want our ink to smudge and smear. I want this to be clear. Now this is watercolor paper, so it is textured, so my impression is not going to be perfectly smooth on here. But because of it being texture, I'm going to just add a little extra pressure and let it sit there a little extra long just to try and get the best impression I can. You can see it's a little bit fadey there. The other thing you could do is emboss it, and that would really pop it up. But since I like to do things quick, the embossing would take a little more time than I'm really wanting to do. Okay, and so now I'm just going to tear off the top and the bottom of this cardstock. I'm not tearing off the sides, I'm just tearing the top and the bottom. And you can see that as you tear towards you, you get the white showing. And the other thing you have to be careful of that I keep forgetting, you see I did it on my last one too, is a little smudge of ink. That Memento ink is getting on my hands, and where I touch that impression, it's getting on the card. So be smart, not like me, and let it dry a little bit. This watercolor paper is very thick, and so I've put a lot of adhesive on the back of it before attaching it to my next layer here. I want it to stay good, and I'm trying to keep my fingers from adding more color to it. And then I'm just going to layer, I'm going to tear the next layer, and I'm going to continue doing that with each layer until I get to this orange one. Okay, so I've added this next layer, the Grapefruit Grove, and you can see why it doesn't matter exactly how tall you have your cardstock. You just need enough room to tear. If you try and bring it too close in, you won't have enough room to tear. You need something to hold on to on that part that you're taking off of the card. And then I'm going to, at this layer, I'm going to wrap around some twine a couple of times just to give it a little bit. Since we're using the torn edges, it has a little bit of that distressed look, and so I wouldn't want to use a satin ribbon. I want to use something that's more earthy and distressed, burlap or something that has a little more country type texture to it. just to give it a little dimension. Let me snip the ends off here. And then the other thing about having some ribbon on it, especially ribbon that's not very flat, is it's going to be hard to glue this down to the next layer. And I want to twist this knot over to the side a little bit. And so, so to get it to the next layer, I'm going to use these foam adhesive strips. And I'm going to do 3 of them actually, because I want to make sure I get it covered on both sides, on the top and the bottom of this twine, to make sure that it gets adhered really well. Layer of Mary Merlot. We're going to tear one more time. Now this Mary Merlot is a little bit wider than the Grapefruit Grove and the Pool Party layers, so you may want to tear a little bit further up on the top and the bottom. It's totally up to you. Alright, here's our full card, and I do want to stamp on the inside of that full card. I'm bringing back in my Mary Merlot ink pad here, and so we have our little saying, I mean, happy birthday. I'm probably going to give out too many of these cards, and the people are going to be like, can you choose something else? And I'm just using this little distressed pad that came with, or stamp that came with the set, just to add a little more dimension on the inside since there's not that much color on the inside. Alright, love how those new pads close. Okay, so the construction of this card, pretty simple. The technique part is doing that watercolor wash. And the tip I have for you on that is use your heat tool to dry it faster if you don't want to sit around and wait for it. So remember my S's at Sunny Sky Stamps. I hope that you subscribe, share, and shop. And go have some fun crafting today.